Welcome back to the A to Z of purpose and leadership. Today's word is one we often avoid, yet one that touches every single life. Healing. Healing doesn't erase the wound, it transforms it into wisdom. Every scar we have tells a story, every tear holds a lesson. Healing isn't about pretending the pain never happened, it's about integrating it into your purpose. For a long time, I believed that healing was the absence of pain, that if I was healed, I wouldn't feel it anymore. But here's what I've learned. Healing isn't the absence of pain, it's the presence of peace. When I began sharing my own painful chapters of loss, burnout, exhaustion, I discovered something surprising. What once hurt me could actually help others. Healing turned my scars into someone else's survival guide. And today, I want to unpack these three truths about healing: honesty, space, and collective transformation. Lesson number one: healing requires honesty. You cannot heal what you will not name. Denial keeps that wound open. Pretending you're fine keeps it stuck. And healing begins the moment you say, "This hurts me." And that admission is not weakness, it's courage. Leaders who are honest about their scars become more relatable, trustworthy, and deeply human. Here's a statistic that might surprise you. A study published in the Journal of Health Psychology found that people who engaged in expressive writing about traumatic events experienced improved immune function and lower stress levels compared to those who suppress these emotions. So, in other words, honesty heals, literally heals the body. History gives us so many examples. Again, Nelson Mandela, he could have become bitter, but he chose honesty over denial and he admitted his suffering. He spoke of his pain, and by doing so, he began not only healing on his own, but healing of the entire nation. Healing begins with honesty first. First with yourself, then honesty with others. Lesson number two: healing creates space. Unhealed pain is heavy. It clogs your mind, it weighs on your heart, and even shows up in your body. Think about it. Have you ever held on to anger so long that it exhausted you? Or carried regret that drained your energy? Unhealed pain is like a program running in the background of your life, draining your battery. But when you heal, space opens up. Energy that was consumed by holding onto the wound is freed for creativity, connection, and clarity. I think of Oprah Winfrey. She grew up facing incredible trauma, poverty, abuse, rejection. For years, those wounds weighed heavily on her, but she chose healing. Her story transformed. She didn't erase her pain, she reframed it. And today she's used her platform not only to create space for her own healing, but to hold space for millions of others. Healing is less about addiction and more about subtraction. So if you think about removing the blocks that keep you from your flow, your peace, and your purpose, that is true healing. Lesson number three: healing is collective. Here's something powerful: healing isn't individual, it's contagious. When you heal, you don't just free yourself, you give permission to others to heal too. Families shift when one person chooses healing. Companies shift when leaders model vulnerability and growth. Communities transform when collective wounds are acknowledged and addressed. Think of Desmond Tutu in South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. After he finally understood that the nation couldn't move forward without healing, the hearings allowed victims and perpetrators both to tell their stories, to name their pain, to bring and begin the process of collective restoration. It wasn't perfect and it didn't erase the wounds, but it opened the door for healing to ripple outward. When leaders choose healing, they don't just change their own story, they change the story of everyone they influence. So here's your practice for today. Think of one scar, emotional, physical, or relational. Now, write a paragraph reframing it. This wound once hurt me, but it taught me blank, and now I share it to help others. So start off with this wound once hurt me, but it taught me whatever learnings and lessons you got from it, and now I share it to help others. This simple reframe shifts your scar from being a source of shame into a symbol of survival. And it takes what was once a weight and turns it into wisdom. Healing doesn't erase the story, it redefines it. Your scars aren't signs of weakness, they're symbols of survival. So I'll leave you with this. What wound in your life is waiting to be transformed into wisdom? What scar is waiting to become someone else's survival guide? Because when you choose healing, you don't just change your own life, you open the door for others to walk through. Thank you for joining me today. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who may be needing a reminder that healing is possible. If you haven't already, please subscribe and hit that notification bell and join me next time as we continue to from A to Z, the journey through purpose and leadership. Thank you.